You're listening to the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the Angry Marks Podcast Network, featuring the Bearded Wonder Zane Paisley, Sign Guy, Drew Skills, and the Morning Star, William Huckabee.
The Undisputed Wrestling Show is now. Well, I'm one of the hosts. I'm the Bearded Wonder, Zane Paisley. I feel like I'm Lee Marshall, even though I am not Tony the Tiger. I am calling in from St. Joseph, Missouri, on my travels, getting ready for the next Nitro report. Along with me this evening, we've got our great hosts, the incredible Huck, the Morning Star, Will Huckabee. How are you doing this evening, Huck?
I'm doing great, man. I had a fantastic weekend this past weekend and stuff, man. I'm really excited to get tonight's show on the road.
Excellent. And also from the Pacific Northwest, our brother in arms, Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee. I love that line. Sign Guy. Sign Guy, how are you this evening?
Doing all right this fine evening here in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, that is excellent. That is excellent. So I'm on a little bit of a different schedule. I am in the Central Time Zone, not the Eastern Time Zone. So I'm thrown off a little bit. But I am staying at one of the worst hotels in St. Joseph, Missouri. So that's excellent. But they did give me a Seagram's Escapes Fruit Punch wine cooler that is 3.2% alcohol by volume. So after I finish off my excellent Boulevard unfiltered wheat, I will be having that as a dessert. So I'm very excited about this evening.
Was it at least cool, or did they go completely 1910s and serve you a warm wine cooler?
It was chilled when they handed it to me at the front desk. But then once I got back to the room, I had to go get my own ice. So.
My question, Zane, is what in the world is going on in this hotel that they're giving away alcohol at the front desk?
It was odd. They handed me she asked if I wanted a complimentary wine cooler, and they also gave me a USA Today. So I don't know if they expected me to go back to my room and have a cocktail and read the newspaper, but whatever, it was free, so I'm going to drink it.
Did you check for an expiration date on the bottle?
I have not yet, but once I finish off the remaining 3 beers that I have, I will update you on the expiration date of the wine cooler.
That would be tremendous.
So we've got an awesome show tonight, guys. I do want to thank you guys. I wasn't able to be on the show last week. If our listeners have not listened to that episode, they definitely need to check it out. You guys did an amazing job with the Iron Man Rob Conway and with Team IOU. Great job last week. So one way that our listeners can do that is if they are subscribed via the podcast app on Apple, they can keyword search Angry Marks, hit the subscribe button, but then they can go to the feed and go to last week's Undisputed Wrestling Show and download the episode from there. Or another easy way to do it is go to www.theundisputedwrestlingshow.weebly.com. They can click on recent episodes and they can listen to it from right there. Once again, this is the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. It is the home of the best pro wrestling and mixed martial arts podcasts in the world. So definitely hit the subscribe button and check us all out. Will, how have you been? How's your weekend?
Actually, man, my weekend was actually really good. It was super busy, man. Had 3 shows in 2 different states. Got a mild concussion Saturday and stuff. Wasn't nothing really serious. Just ended up with like a really bad headache the rest of Saturday night, early Sunday afternoon, or Sunday morning. But it was a great weekend. I saw a lot of great matches. Saw an amazing 60-man Ironman match between Anthony Henry and Jason Kincaid, and then saw some amazing matches down there in Atlanta for AWE. It was just great all the way around.
That AWE, that is really taking off, and I know you're one of the cornerstones of that promotion. How did Trip Cassidy do? Was he there this weekend?
Yes, Trip Cassidy. Oh, no, Trip Cassidy wasn't there this weekend. I was really looking forward to seeing him. But I don't know if you know Gary J. He goes by the name of Robo Ginger. Him and Aaron Epic had an amazing match. And then two of our former guests on the show, Chip Day and Kobe Torino, actually faced off for the first time, this Sunday and stuff, and had a knockout drag-out match. So, and more than anything else, I got to hang with Brutal Bob Evans like all afternoon Sunday, man, and it was pretty awesome.
Did you ask him about the time that he dressed up as a bear to take on Tracy Smothers?
No, I never knew that story. If I'd have known that story, I would have. But the good thing is that this weekend, I'll definitely ask him this weekend, because this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I had an entire weekend of hanging out with Brutal Bob Evans. So I would definitely ask him one of these 3 days about the whole wearing a bear outfit and stuff and wrestling Tracy Smothers.
I think he did it about 6 months ago or so for Old Wrestling, where it was advertised that Tracy Smothers was taking on a bear. So I think that Bob Evans was the man in the bear outfit. Not to break kayfabe or anything, but I think that's what happened.
It's okay, man. I mean, as much he's a really good guy, as much as he likes to clown around and stuff, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind sharing that story.
Okay. Well, you need to get him booked on the show, and we can talk to him about him for our listeners.
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely going to talk to him and ask him about being a guest in the show. Okay. Why wouldn't he want to be a guest in the show?
Sign Guy, how was your weekend?
It was all right. I've been in the process of moving, so lots of moving chicanery going on this week. But that's just about wrapped up, and I'll be able to resume a normal schedule after that.
Well, where are you moving?
Just a mile and a half away from where I was at.
Now, in this mile and a half, did you find any extra tiny libraries along your journey?
Little free libraries?
Yes.
In the neighborhood that was just to the west of where we were living, there are 24 little free libraries, several literally right across the street from each other. And
what about your new mile and a half away?
Not so much right now, because we're on like a major north-south arterial, so you don't see a lot of homes with the yards, but we're in walking distance of probably half a dozen or more in the new place. They're very popular out here.
Are you going to add any of your extensive professional wrestling biographies and books to those collections?
No, I'm keeping those. I'm
Well,
not going to be putting Hooker in the little free library.
That's very selfish of you. Now, Will, do you share any of your wrestling biographies? Because I know you're a huge reader of wrestling books.
Say that again?
Do you share any of the books that you've acquired about professional wrestling?
No, I don't. I definitely keep my books in my library to myself. My daughter, who's a huge wrestling fan, she reads them. Other than that, no, I'm pretty selfish when it comes to my books. My books are just as valuable to me as my kids.
Okay, very nice. We are going to be breaking down the Extreme Rules pay-per-view here shortly. And then at the top of the hour, we've got the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan. And then after him, we've got Gabe the Brave, who's a Midwest superstar. So looking forward to talking to them. Now, before we break down Extreme Rules, Will, the other day you posted something on social media about, and I don't have it pulled up right now, but it was something about people spending $100 to go see people that they don't know versus spending $10 on somebody that they do know and supporting their dreams. Can you break that down a little bit better for me?
The reason behind that post is that, you'll see, and I'm going to keep this in the wrestling context, wrestling and music, is that you'll see people, all excited and posting on social media that they're going to these huge concerts, to see these huge bands and stuff, and they're spending, hundreds of dollars for these tickets. And let's just be honest, the economy is not what it used to be, 15, even 10 years ago. But they won't, and then they'll have friends and neighbors and relatives who are, for lack of a better phrase, is trying to live out their dream and stuff, whether it's independent wrestling or indie music, and they might be at a local VFW or a local gym or at the local bar or something. And these same friends who will spend, $100 to sit in row or stand in row 236, to see ZZ Top or whatever, won't spend $10, to take a Friday or a Saturday night and go support their friends, who's trying to get to that level. And the whole basis of that post was just saying, hey, instead of spending your money to see all these stars and stuff, how about you invest in your friends? How about you invest in your family? How about you invest in local businesses and help other people live out their dream and stuff?
Well, and I understand that. I had another friend post that as well. He was talking about the punk band The Misfits playing in Chicago. They're going to reunite the original lineup, and so do you remember what my response to your post was?
I think it was sometime on the line that WWE only really comes around, like once a couple.
Well, no. My original response though was, I go and see the Indy 500 every year, but I don't go out to local dirt tracks every weekend.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I said support local races. Support local races.
So my part of my point was that some people will spend X amount of dollars and every weekend and go out to local events, which is awesome. I participate in local pro wrestling, independent pro wrestling, at least 2 or 3 weekends a month. But there are some people that just know that they're going to get the WWE product. They know that they're going to see Dean Ambrose walk out. They know that they're going to see, when he's not injured, John Cena come out and do an AA. So, is there a good and a bad to both of those? Yeah, I think so.
Well, my thing is, and I look at it because, just this past Mother's Day weekend, which was 2 weekends ago, or last weekend actually, they had this huge music festival in North Carolina called Carolina Rebellion. It's 3 days of music acts, from sun up way past midnight. And the tickets are, they range around $300, so it's like $100 a day. And that's just for the tickets. So, you spend $300 for tickets, then you have gas, food, hotels, if you're buying, gimmicks and stuff from these bands, it's just like going to WrestleMania. We can easily spend $1,000 in 3 days. And people are going, they'll spend $3,000, to go see, and most of the bands on Carolina Rebellion aren't big name bands. They do attract, and they do book some big name bands, Seven Dust, Slipknot, ZZ Top, Cypress Hill. They do book a lot of top name bands, but the majority of the bands that they book for Carolina Rebellion are smaller bands, like mid-level bands and stuff. The majority of them not local bands. And these same people who will spend, close to $1,000 for this one weekend won't spend $10 to go to the bar down the street and see the local indie bands and stuff who may not be on the same level as ZZ Top, but they still have quality music. I don't know how many times I've gone to see a couple local bands or a couple local music acts and stuff, and then walk out a fan of their music. So I really feel like people should support, local indie wrestling, local indie music and stuff, because you never know, people who like Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns don't realize that these guys, including Sami Zayn and stuff, they don't realize that these guys started in the indies. So you might like them now, but where were you 10 years ago when these guys, were working in VFWs and bingo halls and stuff, were trying to make a couple bucks and stuff to support their dream. That's all I was saying, man.
Well, you mentioned Dean Ambrose. I actually saw Dean Ambrose as John Moxley, I don't know, it was 7 years ago or so, in Salvation Army gym. So yeah, I understand that. I'm saying that some people are able to support the local stuff. Some people just want to save their time and their money for for something that they know that they're going to get. So, do you have any thoughts on that, Sign Guy?
Yeah, I can see it both ways. I mean, a lot of people don't really know much about independent wrestling, so they'd rather go to a proven product like your WWE's, your Ring of Honors, stuff that they can see on TV they know they like. But a lot of people, if they were to give independent wrestling a chance, probably would prefer it, but they're just afraid to make that initial investment into independent wrestling because it's not proven to them. It's not something that they've seen for free at their house that they know they like. So I see the hesitation. A lot of times, if an independent can get on TV even for a short time, they'll see their attendance jump because the fans are able to watch it and determine if they want to see it live or not. So it makes a difference, and it's hard for the independents that don't have television and only run once a month or bi-weekly because a lot of the fans don't want to take the risk and pay $12, $15 for something that they may not enjoy sitting through. So I can see it both ways. I've always supported it.
Well, hey, Sign Guy, hello?
I'm still on it. Did Sign Guy get dropped?
I believe Mr. Sign Guy got dropped.
Okay, well, here's what I was saying about with the post and stuff. I think Sign Guy didn't get the gist of it. And when he gets back, what I explained to him. In the post, it was talking about people supporting their friends. You know, like, for example, my brother-in-law will take, WWE was just, maybe an hour and a half, away from my house and stuff doing a local house show. So my brother-in-law will spend $30, $40 to go take my nephew to go see, WWE, and they won't have, I think the biggest star they had on the show that night, was Sami Zayn, I think. I mean, it was a very small house show. Actually, I'm sorry, AJ Styles was there. I apologize. AJ Styles was there. He'll take my nephew to go see AJ Styles twice a year when North Carolina, when WWE's in the area. But if I have a local show 45 minutes away, and I'll tell him about it, I'll send him the invite on Facebook and give him a flyer or whatever, and then he'll make an excuse, oh, well, I have to work that night, or, oh, man, I'm so tired, I probably won't be able to make it. That's all I'm saying is, if you're going to support Vince McMahon, support your friends and stuff too. Don't, hey, Will, how's the wrestling thing going? It's going good. You should come check out a show. Oh man, I'm so busy and money, but you're going to spend, $100 for 2 tickets to go see WWE.
Well, Huck, my answer to that is that you need to get booked in WWE, so that way you can show off to your brother-in-law and nephew. It's just that easy, right?
No, it's not that easy. I mean, speaking of which, congratulations to all my buddies and stuff from North Carolina who was actually on Raw last night in different aspects and stuff.
Yeah, hey, I was going to ask about that. They had the 2 guys take on, wasn't the Dudley Boys? Who was the tag team match earlier where it had where they said they were local guys?
The Shining Stars.
Yes, versus the Shining Stars. Thank you. They were introduced as Brian Kennedy and something else, and their tights were CH, and the other guys had Tyler on it. Wasn't the names that Michael Cole was saying? Yeah,
okay, so the one with the beard is John Scholar. It didn't say Tyler, it said Scholar.
Oh,
John Scholar. He's actually the PWX, Pro Wrestling Experience champion, based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And then the other guy has CH. His name was Corey Hollis, who on occasion, who's actually a tag team with on the local indies and stuff with All-In star Adam Page. Together, their actual indie name, their actual tag team name is called the Bruiserweights, which is it's kind of cool because they're both cruiserweights, bruiserweights, and that was really cool to see them. Those guys have worked really hard, and let's just be honest, they're not the tallest guys in the world, but you can't, with guys who are that talented and stuff, man, height is not going to hold them back. Also, a couple of buddies of mine was actually security guards doing the Diva spot with Charlotte and Ric Flair and stuff.
Well, very cool.
Yeah, the cool all of that. the two taller guys was Jackson James, who was just at AWE down in Atlanta versus Martin Stone, who was Danny Burch in NXT. They had a great match. The other one's his tag team partner, Brady Pierce. And then the black guy, there's the shorter black guy with the beard and stuff, is a green wrestler who I'm so proud of him, because I've known him since he first got to the business. He just got back from, spending the semester. He's a college student, just spent the semester in England, training with a really good dojo in England and stuff. His name is Darius Lockhart. That dude, was a No Way Jose from NXT. Mm-hmm. Him and Darius were in the same, training class, actually, so it's really cool to see guys like that, young guys who are out there hitting the road and stuff, get a shot like that. What's even funny is that if you look around the crowd, and of course you guys would know this, but watching, Raw and stuff and seeing scenes and everything, there, of course, like there always is whenever WWE's in town, the audience was full of local indie wrestlers and stuff, who was there, supporting their friends and everything.
Well, I know that, the tag team, they were just on, NXT as well, weren't they?
Yes, they actually had, they've actually been on NXT several times. They wrestled the Revival, they wrestled Enzo and Cash before, they wrestled, I think they just wrestled,
American Alpha.
Yeah, American Alpha, for the record, I'm not too big of them just yet. But yeah, they just wrestled American Alpha. Like I said, those guys, even though they're not the tallest team in the world, like, they're very talented, and you can't, just because somebody is not 6'5" does not mean that they don't deserve to be in the big leagues. And it's really cool to see these guys are getting their shots up and getting TV time.
Well, awesome.
Now, Will, I have a question for you. On Raw last night, I was watching it, and the Dudley Boys did a backstage vignette with the McMahons, and they said they wanted to wrestle the little North Carolina guys. They were kind of mocking the North Carolina independent scene, it seemed like to me. I wanted to get your opinions on how that came across to you, and did you see a little bit disrespectful for the independents out of North Carolina?
Actually, no, I'm not, man. You have the most decorated tag team in wrestling history. Talking about they want to wrestle the little North Carolina guys. It's for me, myself, I'm very proud. It's a very happy moment. Not only with this WWE, but with TNA, the North Carolina indie wrestling scene has never been hotter. Like I said, Dawson from the Revival is probably like the godfather of indie wrestling here in North Carolina. And Dash Wilder's from South Carolina. You have the Bruiserweights who, even though Corey Hollis is from Alabama and John Charles from South Carolina, these guys spend the majority of their time wrestling in this state. Then you have the guys doing the indies and stuff, and then the TNA, X-Division champion Trevor Lee, actually was in the same training class as my tag team partner Joe Black. And then you got Andrew Everett, Shane Helms is running his own, actually on the creative team for TNA and stuff, and you have the Hardy Boys and everything. And then, probably one of the longest tenured WWE stars, who absolutely does really nothing whatsoever but shows or cracks a couple of jokes. R-Truth is from right there in Greensboro, North Carolina. So, in my opinion, in a vignette like that, the WWE Boys are like, hey, maybe wrestle those little local North Carolina guys, little small guys. That's a stamp of approval for what's going on in the state.
Excellent. Sign Guy, do you want to hit us up with, we can do some predictions for, the big event this coming weekend on the WWE Network, the Extreme Rules?
Sure. All right. Shall we start at the bottom and work our way up?
Yeah, that sounds good.
First match, I believe they announced this as the pre-show match. It'll be no disqualification, Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin.
I'll go ahead and say Corbin is, will win that. They're booking both of them so poorly right now, but, I don't see how Ziggler would come out, how it would help Ziggler at all. He's gonna be at the same mid-card spot no matter what they do with him, and they're trying to elevate Corbin. So that's who I'm going with.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna say Corbin. I think that his match with Dolph Ziggler is a sign that they're gonna try to move him up to the top of the mid card. I think that once a guy starts working with Dolph Ziggler, you can almost guarantee that he's moving up the card. So it's almost like Dolph Ziggler has the keys to the top of the roster and stuff. And if you can't have a great match with Dolph Ziggler, then you shouldn't, be closer to the top of the card.
I think they played this one out quite a bit, and it seems like they wrestled tons of times already, and they've only been in a program for a month. I think Corbin, just because I don't see what Ziggler winning this would do for him, but Corbin would at least not be hurt if he were to beat Dolph Ziggler. I think he would be hurt if he were to lose the feud. Let's see. Next match, United States Championship. Champion Kalisto against Rusev.
I'll take that. I'm thinking they're going to keep it on Kalisto. I would really like to see them break up the Lucha Dragons and have Kalisto versus Sin Cara and stuff and put them in the feud together. I think that would be something amazing, especially with WWE coming up with a whole global cruiserweight series and stuff. I think them putting the Lucha Dragons against each other will definitely kickstart that.
Cena is coming back in less than 2 weeks. He's coming back on Memorial Day, so it'll be the Monday following, 1 week after the pay-per-view. I see them putting it on Rusev, and then Cena taking it away from Rusev and elevating that title again. That U.S. Open Challenge was the best thing going while Cena was healthy, so I think that they're going to kickstart that again. So I'm going to say Rusev over Kalisto.
I think Rusev will win it because they seem like they're about ready to go with Rusev and Lana and some type of new gimmick maybe. They don't seem to know if they're completely breaking up that faction or not, but Rusev looks like he's in line for some sort of singles run with Lana doing a completely different type of gimmick. And Kalisto has brought that title way down. It's been on the pre-show the last few pay-per-views. So I think Rusev's the guy that's going to win it. Maybe be a placeholder for Cena, but at the very least bring that title back to the main shows.
You had mentioned the League of Nations, Rusev's group, and yeah, they have kind of gone back and forth, whether they're broken up or they're helping each other out, because it seemed like Rusev was helping out ADR this past week on Raw. You did not mention who the sponsor of Extreme Rules is. Do you know the sponsor of Extreme Rules?
Who is the sponsor?
It is the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. And do you know who is playing either Bebop or Rocksteady? I do not know which one it is.
Sheamus.
Yes, and he's not on the card, so I would hope that they'd have some product integration there and have him come out as a rhinoceros.
To be fair, they have not mentioned on television that he's in that movie, so maybe that's something they're going to either completely ignore, or it could be something where they will reveal it at the pay-per-view. That'll be like a big deal at the pay-per-view that he's in that movie.
Yeah, knowing them, they will completely ignore it because it's a pop culture event, and I'm not a huge Ninja Turtles fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's awesome that he's got that big of a role in such a big movie. So,
all right, next match, WWE Tag Team Championship match, The New Day defending their titles against the Vaudevillains.
That Time Machine promo that they did was just horrible. It was awful. It was such a waste of our time on Raw. But I'm still going to go with the New Day in this match. I don't see them pushing the Vaudevillains up. So I'm going to say the New Day and the money match is going to be the New Day versus Cass and Enzo when Enzo is feeling better. What are your thoughts, Will?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to agree with you. I really feel that this match was supposed to be Enzo and Cass versus the New Day, and Enzo and Cass becoming the tag team champions. But unfortunately, Enzo got injured and stuff in that match of the pay-per-view. Like you said, I just don't see them putting the titles on the Vaudevillains. You know, they don't have, in my opinion, they're a good tag team. They're a very solid team. But I don't think that they're what you would put you wouldn't bank your tag team division on the Vaudevillains. I'm sorry. So with that being said, yeah, I'm definitely going to agree with you, Zane. New Day goes over, and when Enzo and Cass come back, unless by chance they bring up the Revival, I'm definitely going to say it's going to end up being the New Day versus Enzo and Cass, and then Cass and Enzo is going to end up being the next tag team champs.
I think the New Day is going to win it because I think that the Vaudevillains were not supposed to be in this match, which means the writing team had no plans for them, which means they're just going to bypass them and get to where they wanted to be. Next match, Dean Ambrose versus Chris Jericho in the Asylum match.
I'll take this one. If history shows us nothing else, is the fact that Chris Jericho is the consummate professional. Zane talked earlier about John Cena, having an open challenge with the U.S. title and stuff, and people don't realize that, in a way, Chris Jericho has been doing that for years. Every time he comes back, it's always to help out with the new talent. He's always putting over new talent. He did it with Dolph Ziggler. He did it with AJ Styles. He's doing it with Dean Ambrose and stuff, man. Chris Jericho to a point in his career where whether he wins or not, he's already guaranteed to be in the Hall of Fame. He's automatically going to get his money and stuff. He's already, a main event guy and stuff. And I really love the fact that he doesn't mind coming back and helping out the new talent. So I think they're going to really use this match to push Dean Ambrose to the top of the card where he's supposed to be.
Will, what did you think of the reveal of the Asylum match? Will, what did you think of the reveal of the Asylum match?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't really get to see that. I kind of had to use the bathroom during that part of the show, and I just didn't go back to watch it.
Did you see it, Sign Guy?
I did. It reminded me a lot of the old TNA gimmick when Raven was there. Remember they had the cage with all the weapons hanging from it?
Yeah. It totally reminded me of TNA. The Raven, the Dark Carnival, I think that's what it was. And they also had a thing where it was fully revealing a cage match, I think against Sting, where like one side of the ring was covered in barbed wire, the other one was covered with weapons. It was just, it just looks super cheesy to me, and I don't know, it just looked cheesy to me. I think that Ambrose is going to go over because it's going to be his new specialty match. They're not going to have him lose his first specialty match. But it just looked, I hope the execution of the match is much better than the reveal was. Who do you think's going to come out on top, Sign Guy?
I actually think Jericho will win it because they did the whole deal with the jacket and he's taking it more seriously, I think, as far as the feud. And it looked like it's going to be more of a comedy type of gimmick, type of cage match. They had a mop. They had just really silly type of objects hanging from it. So I think it's going to be more of a comedy, hardcore type of deal. And I think that's where Jericho is going to shine in this type of thing. And I know it's his first match and, his supposed specialty match, but The Undertaker lost his in the cell.
No, that's a good point. It would have been more clever. You know, they had the gimmick where Funk gave Ambrose the chainsaw and Foley gave him the barbed wire bat. You know, why didn't they just pay Perry Saturn a couple bucks and have him give him Moxley? You know, they could have done that all, you know. Dean's been collecting all these weapons and to use in this match. I think that would have made it a little bit better.
Yeah, for the record, you know, I don't understand why Abdullah the Butcher's still alive. They couldn't, you know, they were right here in North Carolina and stuff, man. They could have stopped it. They just did a show in Georgia. They could have shut out a vignette with Abdullah the Butcher and had Abby give him the fork. I would have loved to have seen that.
But with all this stuff going on with his FC and all that, they're probably staying away from him. I don't think that they've done anything with him since they inducted in the Hall of Fame, and really before they inducted in the Hall of Fame, they had him. That's the only time they talked about him was for that couple weeks. So I think they're staying away from him.
Which is too bad because his restaurant's tremendous.
Is it?
Oh yeah, Abdullah the Butcher's House of Ribs and Chinese food, great food.
Oh yeah, it really is, Zane. If you get a chance to go to Atlanta, the two places you need to stop by is Abby's restaurant and then Gladys Knight, her chicken and waffle spot is two of the best places. I would say Ted Turner's Bison restaurant, but you know, it's bison meat. It's okay.
Well, part of my shoot job takes me to Tennessee, so when I go down there, I'm going to check out Jerry Lawler's new bar and restaurant in Memphis. And I was looking, part of it is actually up in Minnesota, so I was looking to see if Mean Gene's Burgers are still available, and I don't think that that's still around, so.
No, that's gone.
Yeah.
And while you're visiting Abby's restaurant, make sure that the meat you order is always full cook and not bleeding like a stuck pig. and if offered, decline on the side dish of hepatitis C.
Will, could you please explain the voice that we just heard? I love your introduction.
Say that again?
Can you explain whose voice we just heard? Because I love the way you introduce him.
I'm sorry, it's falling really bad here, and you're kind of low.
Whenever you say something about Killer Kev, you say he's the greatest producer in the history of the world or something like that. So
in podcast history.
Okay, podcast history. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Everybody gave their prediction on that match. What do we have next, Sign Guy?
Next match, we have the fatal four-way match for the Intercontinental title. The Miz versus Kevin Owens versus Cesaro versus Sami Zayn.
I think that the best way that they come out of this is have Cesaro take it, set up a feud with Owens and Zayn to continue. So that's the way I would book it. That's the way it makes most sense. I don't know if that's the way it's going to come out, but I do anticipate this being the match of the night. But I do want to warn Owen, Zayn, and Cesaro that if they do any jumps outside, do not expect the Miz to catch them. He never catches people.
You're so right. I'm going to say this is going to be Sami Zayn's moment. I think they're going to finally pull the trigger and give Sami Zayn the Intercontinental title. They should have done it at WrestleMania. They should have done it, the last full pay-per-view. They haven't. So I think they're actually going to go ahead and have that feel-good moment and give Sami Zayn the Intercontinental title.
I think the Miz will retain it because I think that they're going to build his Intercontinental title run on Total Divas, and his holding the title will be instrumental in some of the storylines with Maurice on her first season of Total Divas.
And for our listeners that don't know about Sign Guy's other shows, can you explain why you have such in-depth analysis of what they're going to do on Total Divas?
I have Total Dudes with Sign Guy and Rex, where two Total Dudes review one Total Divas show and delight the entire world.
And it is my favorite Total Divas recap show on the planet.
That's high praise.
Zane, I think that's the only Total Divas recap show on the planet.
No, there are several video blogs
Really?
by very famous people that recap Total Divas. I don't know if there are any other audio podcasts, but there are several. Total Divas is a big deal.
Yeah. Maybe I'm the only person that doesn't watch it.
Well, maybe you should start. You should start with season 3, so that way you can listen to Total Dudes every week.
I'll think about it.
Okay, go ahead with the next match, Sign Guy.
Next one, WWE Women's Championship match. Champion Charlotte versus Natalya. This is a submission match with Ric Flair banned from ringside.
I'm going to say that the Nature Boy, the dirtiest player in the game, figures out a way to make his way down ringside, whether he comes out as a Black Scorpion or whatnot. And Charlotte's going to retain.
Well, that is the best outcome that could ever happen from that match. Thank you so much. I'm being serious. That is amazing. I would have never thought of that. I can't believe that they closed Raw with a contract signing for that match. I love that women are getting, a bigger role in the company. But man, that was just brutal. That was brutal. I don't see why they would put it on Natalya. So I'm going to say keep it on Charlotte, and let's get Sasha Banks back on the show.
I think Charlotte will win it because the company clearly sees Natty as the lowest person on the totem pole. They probably will do something on Total Divas with this where she has like this brutal submission match and she didn't win the title and she'll burst into tears and Bret Hart will say, well, I tried to help you, but you suck. And once again, I think Charlotte, clear choice in this one. I don't think Natalya will ever get to the title again because I think it's a running gag on Total Divas where she never gets it because they bring it up constantly. And with that, our final match of the pay-per-view that has been announced, WWE World Heavyweight Title match. Champion Roman Reigns defends against AJ Styles in an Extreme Rules match.
I'm going to predict, and I've predicted this at the previous pay-per-view, that the club will join up with Reigns. There'll be kind of a double turn, even though there's not really a turn at all because neither of them are face and neither of them are heel, so they're not drawing any money. But I'm going to say that Reigns retains with the help from the club.
I'm going to predict that this will probably be the worst match of the show. And I'm going to say because they're pushing this whole I'm not the bad guy, I'm not the good guy, I'm the guy shtick with Roman Reigns. I think that they're going to have him retain. They have, people complain about John Cena being Superman. And if John Cena is Superman, then Roman Reigns must be Captain Marvel. Because this guy can beat, 16 people at once, with a Superman punch. And they expect us to believe it. I'm
gonna disagree though that it's gonna be the worst worst match on the card because they've had great matches together.
They've had really solid matches. I wouldn't say they're not the quality of matches that you're used to from AJ Styles. You can definitely add he is definitely bearing the majority of the workload for these matches and stuff.
All right. Oh, you're back. Good.
Are you talking to me or Sign Guy?
Yeah, you cut off for a second. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, they've had, I wouldn't say great matches. They've had very solid, good matches. They're definitely not the quality of matches you're used to seeing from AJ Styles, and you can definitely tell in the matches that he's bearing the majority of the workload. As far as the club goes, I don't know what they're going to do with that. Are they going to, because it doesn't seem like they're going to bring up Finn Balor, anytime soon. And they're dragging along this whole, are they with AJ or are they not with AJ thing. So I don't know if the club is going to, they're going to play a role in the match, but I don't think they'll play as big a role as you think, Zane.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Roman Reigns defending it. I think it'll come down to the club and the Usos running in, and they'll have a big schmaltz type of deal. I pretty well think that they're going to extend this out a little bit more, because it seems like the Usos and the club are in a side feud. I think they can get at least one more match out of it. So I think Reigns will retain it. They'll get at least one more match out of it, maybe in a cage or something. But I think it'll be some sort of big schmaltz type of finish at the end.
It's been a pretty one-sided feud, because Usos have won everything, and Gallows and Anderson have not won a match on WWE TV yet. So
see, and that's what WWE does. I think that they're, because Gallows and Anderson were so dominant with in New Japan through several different lineups of the Bullet Club and stuff, that you know how Vince is, and even though Triple H is really running the show, it's still up to Vince. Vince is not, even though they're acknowledging people from other companies and they're acknowledging those companies, they're definitely not going to say that your guys are better than our guys. And I think that this is their way of saying, yeah, we'll bring in Gallows and Anderson, but we're not going to put them over on our guys, because our guys have been here and paid their dues here at WWE, and you guys just came from Japan, and you don't know how the machine works yet. So they'll keep them there in the spotlight for all the smart marks and the wrestling, fanboys in the IWC, but they're not going to put them over on top of the Usos.
all right. Well, that is our analysis, our predictions for Extreme Rules 2016 in Newark, New Jersey. Is our next guest going to be calling us, or do we need to call him?
He's expecting a call from us.
All right. The best producer in the game, Killa Kev. Can you give our next guest a call?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Mr. Sullivan, it is Sun Guy, and you are on the Undisputed Wrestling Show right now.
Okay. I'm on the Undisputed Wrestling Show with Sign Guy. This is the highlight of my week, month, and maybe right up to the summer equinox. So, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing very well, and with me I have the Morning Star Will Huckabee, and we also have the Bearded Wonder, the great ring announcer from the Midwest, Zane Paisley.
Glad to talk to both of you guys. Which one's from Indiana?
I'm from
Anybody?
Indiana. This is Zane Paisley. Thank you for joining us once again. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. When I was a kid, I almost burnt the town of Muncie down.
Oh, really?
My uncle was the principal in Fort Wayne, Indiana, years later at the high school, and he was a teacher there. He's a big-time war hero, lost a leg of one of his testicles and at the Battle of the Bulge, and he left me and my brother, and they went off. He was like, he's going to teach us discipline. We're inner city kids from Boston, so he's going to teach us discipline. So he had 2 extra lots beside his little house, and he said, I want all this grass cut before I get home. We said, well, how long are you going to be gone? He said, well, about 2.5 hours. How do you do that, right? My brothers and I are ditching, and my brother tells me, go get the gas. I get the gas, I pour it all over the field. I mean, I drenched it. I lit it on fire. The next thing is catching the house on fire. The police, fire department's there. Yeah, I could have burnt Muncie down.
Well, I don't think that's your fault. I think that's your uncle's fault for setting expectations.
Yeah, he wasn't politically correct, I guess. Just because he lost a nut and his leg didn't give him any right to yell at me. And he he fought at World War II. It was a war hero at the Battle of Bulge. You know, practically changed the course of World War II by himself, I'm sure.
Well, do you know the famous university in Muncie, Indiana?
Would be University of Indiana?
No, that's in Bloomington. This is Ball State University. So,
Ball State, of course, yeah.
So your uncle losing a testicle, it almost makes sense.
Yeah. Ball State, I love it. So, what do we like to talk about today? Sign Guy is usually full of information.
I try. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is coming up on the 29th of this very month, you are making your very first match ever in the state of Oregon for Piper Palooza 2 at NWA Blue Collar. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's one of the things I want to do on my bucket list. There's only 2 states I haven't wrestled in, Alaska being the other one. And Sign Guy made this thing happen for me. I'm with Bad Blood, and we're in a 6-man. The tag team belts are also going to be up for grabs that night. And it's a great thing. You know, Piper legend lives on. It'll live on forever. Roddy was a personal friend of mine. I'm glad to be able to get down there and do it. And I appreciate what Sign Guy did, but I would love to see that place packed for, it's been less than a year. And he was a dynamic. To me, he was the most over wrestler that never was a world heavyweight champion. Yeah, absolutely. What were you going to say?
He absolutely was, and last year they had a great crowd for the first Piper Palooza.
Oh, great. And, what I like, one of the reasons why I enjoy talking to Sign Guy, he's one of the few guys that understands the wrestling history. People that are, kids that are 30 years old now don't even know who Buddy Rogers was, or don't even go back to Jack Briscoe. I mean, it's strange to me where every other sport honors their history and the stars that come before it. Vince has done away with history and wants us to believe that the only thing that was ever here was the WWF and E. So, it's good to talk to Sign Guy. And we had a great talk with our friend, Dale, who wrote those books, right? The history of Akron, Ohio. Remember that?
Absolutely. Dale Pierce.
Yeah, he wrote some very interesting books and very obscure on wrestling in Arizona, and the other one was wrestling in Akron, Ohio. It was very interesting because he talked about the early days of Akron, Ohio, and he also talked about the early days in Arizona because their building was called the Madison Square Garden, just like the one in New York. And the funny thing was, there was a guy that wrestled there, and he was way ahead of his time. This was late 40s, early 50s. His name was Broadway Venus, and how he came up with it, I don't know, but his outfits were tie-dyed. Can you believe that? In the late 40s, early 50s, tie-dyed? Yeah. And I mean, what the name says, Broadway Venus, he didn't work on top very often, but I don't know much about him, but I saw pictures of him, and he had a body that was ahead of that time, too. So he was a very, very interesting guy. I'm not going to say people have to know who everybody is in this business, but they should know who were the guys that were forerunners that laid out this great highway for them to make money.
I agree with you 100% there. And speaking of the history of the business, I'm sure you've read a lot of books on wrestling, a lot of the autobiographies that are out there. In your opinion, what are a couple of the books that are available that people should make a priority to read and learn about the history of the business?
Well, the autobiographies I'm not crazy of, because everybody's the toughest, the smartest, the most brilliant, and they all knock one another. But when they see each other, they hug each other. Oh, brother. I can't stand two-faced people, but there's a guy called Tim Hornbaker. Are you familiar with that? You guys familiar with that? He does wrestling and he does baseball. And I'm a big fan of his, and I've read some of his books. Very in-depth. He has articles on the internet for matches. Like he does all the territories. He'll do matches, we'll say from Boston and the surrounding area. And you look at the Boston card, there's 4 promoters. And, you know, they're all drawing big money, and they're all using different names. But the guy, Paul Bowser, was the number one, and he used the guys off of, you know, he had his own booking office where he owned the guys outright. He owned their contracts, while the other guys didn't. But then, you know, you go on, I looked on something just recently about wrestling out of L.A. and how big that was. They did a $101,000 house back in 1951 or 2, I believe. It could have been as late as 53, but it was a unification match for the world title between their champion, West Coast champion, who claimed that he was a heavyweight champion, Baron Leone, and the other one was Luthez. So it was interesting. Very interesting.
Well, at this point, I'm going to pass things over to my co-host here, Will Huckabee. So, Huck, do you have some questions?
Oh, of course.
Will, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mr. Sullivan. Thank you for being on the show. Speaking of history stuff, I'm a huge fan of, you know, wrestling history, and especially things behind the scenes. And when it comes to the subject of booking, your name always comes up as one of the greatest bookers in the history of wrestling. You know, there's so many guys who have said that they learned the art of booking from you. What is your belief and your concept when it comes to booking a roster and putting together a great show?
My big thing is about booking is you try to get as many guys that look like athletes. Then you break it down like you would a circus. If you don't like the fighters, wait till the next match because the clowns are going to come out of the funny car. If you don't like that, wait till the high wire act is on. If you don't like that, wait till the circus strongman is on. If you don't like that, at the end of the show, Guthrie Gable Williams is going to put his head in the lion's cage. You got to give us something for everybody. And where this country is right now, it's a funny thing. And my belief is that you also have to cater to ethnicity in wrestling. Whether it be you go to a place that has a large Hispanic population, but they're not from Mexico. You get a Cuban guy on the card, or up in Boston, there's a whole town of Providence, Rhode Island, a lot of Fall River. Providence is Rhode Island, but Fall River is right outside of Boston. A huge number of Portuguese. Vince Senior always used to have a Portuguese guy in the card. After a while, that went away, but now we have a flood of immigrants in the country, and I think they want to recognize someone that's one of their own. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, exactly. Now with that being said, and I hope you don't mind me bringing it up, Bret Hart made some very, very, to some people, controversial comments about the lack of big men, especially in the WWE, where he was saying that a lot of the guys are, 5'10", 5'11", 175, 190 pounds, and yeah, they look great, but they're all small. And he was asking, where are all the big men? What is your opinion about that comment? Do you think that wrestling needs more big men? Do you like the way that, especially WWE, has evolved to a smaller sport where it's mainly smaller, faster guys with higher spots? Or would you rather like to see the big monsters come back?
Okay, I'll give you an example of things. How history repeats itself. Years ago, when I first broke into business, there was 37 individual companies. There was actually more than that a couple of years before I broke in, but some had combined. Well, Leroy McGurk, who's the junior heavyweight champion, owned a territory where he used the junior heavyweights, which are now cruiserweights. He used them as on top. There used to be 4 or 5 different promotions in LA. One of them used the cruiserweight more than they did the heavyweight. Same thing in Ohio. At one time they used the junior heavyweights. In Boston, one of the promoters used the junior heavyweights. But I have a test that works every time, okay? All right. Okay, you're leaving the bar, right? You've had a couple of beers, but your car's parked down this alleyway, right? And you make the turn, and you're going to get on one sidewalk or the other. And this is no disrespect for anybody. On one side is Brock Lesnar. On the other side is Dean Ambrose. Which sidewalk are you going to walk down?
That make a very good point.
Can I say a bad word? Can I swear?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
It's sometimes this easy. They either have to be afraid of you or they want to fuck you. It's that simple to get over sometimes. I mean, guys that they're afraid of and look the part, to me, that's why these guys do all these moves. And I'm not taking anything away from them, but guys that are sitting at home and watching this, who aren't much smaller than these guys, it gives them hope that they can be a main eventer. And this is good, because I like the diversity. I'd like to see welterweights. I would like to see middleweights, just like in boxing and at UFC. But let them wrestle one another. You know what I'm saying? So I think you could settle the heavyweights as a real special deal. And I think Bret made up a point except for Brock. Brock should be the world champion forever until someone that comes along that does what he's done beats him. I mean, it's the simple. If you lined up everybody, I'd rather take my chance with anybody up there but Brock. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that I want to fight anybody, but it just makes common sense.
Now, my last question before I pass it on is, with all of that being said, do you subscribe to the belief that right now MMA is out pro wrestling, actual pro wrestling? Do you think that they're doing a better job of selling the work than we are?
This is what we were supposed to evolve into. There would be no MMA if we had evolved into what we started in the 90s. The dropping of the fake names. The guy's name was Diesel. He comes over, becomes Kevin Nash. The other guy is a Hispanic, bad example of a stereotype Hispanic. Razor Ramon, he becomes Scott Hall. Angles that borderline on reality. we would have evolved into this. They've evolved into this, what we are, and Vince would like to draw a lot of money like he does, and he's very successful at it, but he would like to figure out a way how to do that without a ring in the middle of the floor. Because Dolph Ziggler said, the greatest quote I ever heard, the last thing you need to know to get along in the WWE is know how to wrestle.
Mm. Well, with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to the bearded wonder, Zane Paisley. Okay. Zane.
Well,
yes, sir.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying great. Okay.
Well, Taskmaster, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. This is your second time on our show, and we really appreciate you taking time out. This is the first time since Sign Guy has become a full-time member of our panel, so we really appreciate you taking time out to help us out. My first question for you is, how much do you love podcasting? Because I love listening to the MSL and Sullivan show on the MLW network.
Yeah, we're doing really good, and M is a really smart guy. He knows history. He has, obsessive compulsive disorder like I do. He studies day and night. He's a brilliant guy. I would like to see him get a shot at something. I think he's like Rain Man. He found out how to do this. Like Sign Guy. Sign Guy's a brilliant guy in his own right. I enjoy talking to Sign Guy. Because he's up with everything and knows history.
On the MSL and Sullivan show, like this past week, you went through an old Nitro. How do you have to do a lot of research on what you booked at that time, or is it just all off the top of your head?
I never kept notes. I had a lawsuit one time where they said we were using National Hall and indicating that they were from the WWE. And their lawyer, who I know, Jerry McDivitt, called me in and said, we subpoenaed all your notes. Where are they? And I had a few little things written out. And he said, where are your notes? I said, well, I got total recall. He said, bullshit. He said, who was on the fourth match on the 26th show? I said, tell me who is in the main event. He told me, and I gave it to him. He said, you can go home. So, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what it is, but I am kind of blessed with that I can pull back stuff. I can remember being in the crib and pull myself up probably at 6 or 7 months old. So, I probably can't remember what I ate for dinner, but I can remember, where and what I've done, especially if I had to put a lot of time in it like I did that.
Well, that is amazing. Now, you've got a big event coming up soon. Your first time wrestling in the state of Oregon. You're going to be in Portland, Oregon for Piperpalooza. Do you know the date on that? It's
the 31st. Am I correct? It's that Sunday. No, it's that 29th. 29th. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm riding down with Sign Guy, and we'll talk about Roddy the whole way and probably on the way back too. And I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know why, but I've always, one time I was supposed, years and years ago, I was supposed to go to Portland, and then a funny thing, years and years ago, there was a promoter up here, Dean Silverstone. I almost bought into this territory as a kid, so yeah, I'm really, and there's a lot of talent up here that hasn't been seen, and I hope if we make enough noise, we'll have people from this part of the, this part of the United States. It's like a black hole. Hopefully someone will see the talent that we have up here.
Well, your two tag team partners that night, Buddy Highway and Bad Blood, they've been making big scenes. They are traveling champions with the NWA, so they're great representatives of that area.
Yeah, and I hope that they can get shot at the World Tag Team Championship and get to go to New Japan, because it would be great for them.
That would be amazing. Now, I know we don't have very much more time with you, and I want you to be able to talk with Sign Guy. But speaking of Piper, you said that you had Total Recall. Do you remember your first impressions of Roddy Piper?
Yeah, Roddy actually came to Florida. He became a free agent when that wasn't very common. He wasn't booked in one territory. He was traveling like a special attraction. And he came into Florida to be my partner. And we were going down the road to Miami, and there was alligators on Alligator Alley, it's called, all over. And he said, I want to shoot me an alligator. So he had his 22 on him, snub nose. He shot the alligator, and the alligator snuck into the water. And I told him, go ahead in there and get it. I'll just bang the water. That's what they do in Samoa. So a shark doesn't bite him. And Roddy was halfway in and said, this is an alligator, not a shark. I said, it probably will work, but I'm not sure. And he got out of the water, and on the way down, we hit this small alligator. There was so many, and we threw it in the trunk. And as we're going home that night, back from Miami and Tampa, we had a case of beer. That was back in the day. We could do that kind of thing, and all of a sudden we hear this thrashing in the back in the trunk when we go and open it, and there's a big alligator alive. So I've had some amusing things with Roddy. We became very close at WCW, even though we were close on the road, but I got to really know him then. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I'm going to kick it back over to Sign Guy to wrap up.
Well, Sign Guy, all I can say to you is I'll see you the 29th, and we're on our way.
Absolutely. I'm looking very forward to that. And you have anything else you want to plug or promote before you say your final goodbye?
Yeah, I do. There's a friend of mine, and he discovered all kinds of nostalgia, all kinds of tapes, me wrestling Andre the Giant and Honolulu, me wrestling Dusty and Blackjack in Florida. Not just me, but guys, Roddy's on the tapes, and Ric Flair. He has all kinds of pictures, not just of me, but all kinds of programs. And if you email him at kevinsullivanbooking@gmail.com, that's kevinsullivanbooking@gmail.com. He will send you a catalog and of what he has, and he has some spectacular things. So, guys, I certainly appreciate it, and I'll talk to you, my friend, very soon, and I'll be seeing you soon as you take me down so I can help Buddy Highway and Bad Blood to keep this thing rolling for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to the trip on the 29th.
Thank you, baby. Bye-bye.
Wow, Sign Guy, great job getting Mr. Sullivan on with us again. Awesome, quick interview with him. Really excited for the Piper Palooza event.
Absolutely. I worked the inaugural Piper Palooza. I refereed roughly 20 matches. It was a combined show, NWA Blue Collar and HPG Pro last year. HPG out of business, but it's going to be an NWA Blue Collar event. Should be phenomenal once again. Last year we had in attendance in the front row Colt Toombs, the son of Roddy Piper. So it's definitely a big time event. I'm looking forward to the second one.
Can you share the info with our listeners, where the event is and if they can pre-order tickets?
Yes, absolutely. The event will be at the NWA Blue Collar Wrestling's normal location, the Eagles Lodge, 7611 North Exeter. It's on the corner of Lombard and Exeter. Anyone that is in the Portland area knows how to get to Lombard. And it will be on the 29th of this month, 6 p.m. opening bell time. Main event is Kevin Sullivan and the West Side Connection of Buddy Highway and Bad Blood taking on the team of the NWA Blue Collar Wrestling heavyweight champion, Dave Havoc Hollenbeck, Gregor Petrov, and a man I consider the most underrated performer in the Pacific Northwest, Aries Torretta, in a six-man match. Also on the card, semi-main event, NWA Pacific Northwest tag team titles on the line, the Dark Asylum, Big Vicious and Darkness to challenge for the titles against the team of Iron Man and Tony Stetson. Should be an outstanding night of professional wrestling down there in Portland.
Well, that sounds great. Coming to us from the Midwest, the leader of the tribe, Gabe the Brave. Thank you. Welcome to the Undisputed Wrestling Show on Angry Marks Podcast Network. This is the Bearded Wonder, Zane Paisley. Also on the line, we've got Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee, Sign Guy, and the AWE superstar, the Incredible Huck, Will Huckabee. Gabe, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. We've had a great show so far, and you're just going to add to this. Since this is your first time on our program, can you tell our listeners how you got started in professional wrestling and a little about your training?
Yeah, give me 1 second. My Bluetooth on. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Okay, so I started training with NRW out of Highland with Kenny Courageous. And this was probably 2000. And then we continued on with a little more training with Rex Hart. I can't remember the year. It was right around there, though. And then I've attended some of the Ring of Honor camps. Did some work with them as far as the tryout camps. And those are a great learning experience.
Well, what got you interested in the world of professional wrestling?
I've always been, even as a kid, I want to say it was Hogan and Warrior. Most people didn't like both. I liked both. But when I was little, that was, I want to say I may have been about 8. That was my most memorable was Hogan and Warrior. I was so torn when they went against each other. I've watched that match to this day, and I still think it's a good match.
It was definitely a great match. Headlined WrestleMania, what was it? WrestleMania 6. And it was much better than anyone expected it to be. So you are, I know that I've seen you and I've announced you in Intense Championship Wrestling in Marion, Indiana. Where are you based out of?
I'm based out of Hammond, Indiana. So main base pad would be Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling right now.
Okay.
I've been working with them since they started. It's been about, I think, year and a half, almost 2 years now that they've been open.
Well, and you work all around Indiana, up into Michigan. Do you work Illinois or Ohio or anything like that?
Yeah, a little bit of anywhere. A lot of freelancing. Whoever wants to bring me in or our team in. We just started working with UPW in Gladstone, this Escanaba area of Michigan. So we had our debut there this weekend. We had a successful debut against the A team.
Well, that's awesome. So you had mentioned your group, so it's the Tribe. Can you tell us a little about that?
Oh yeah, that actually started from New Age, where my tag partner would run his shows in Chicago, and he had the idea of running a Tribe stable that actually he worked with in Sierra Vista and in California, so in Arizona and California. And so Navajo Warrior gave him the blessing for us to use the name out here, because him and Hawaiian Lion use it in the West. So they let us extend the chapter.
Well, that's very nice. And tell our listeners about your Native American heritage.
Oh,
got a lot. We've got Blackfoot and Cherokee and Navajo. It's more just a lot about the spiritualness of it. There's not I haven't been to a lot of reservations or anything. I know my partner has. He's been to, his grandfather grew up on one. My grandparents were from Texas, so I haven't seen none of the reservations over there.
Well, my kids are, my wife is, Miami Indian. So, when I've taken them to, ICW, my kids always, root for you and, the Seminole Warrior and all that. So, keep that up and great job. I am going to kick it over to the Morning Star, Will Huckabee. Will, what do you have for Gabe the Brave?
Yeah, first of all, Gabe, thanks for being a guest of the show today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I didn't get the honor of working the show with you. You weren't able to make it to one of the Smash Mouth shows.
Oh man, like I had like serious intense car issues that weekend, man. It was probably one of the worst wrestling weekends I've had in like the past 2 years, man. It was horrible.
Oh yeah, I understand those. It happens. we had one trying to go down to Indy once, and we didn't even make it out of the area.
Now my question is, I'm gonna ask you a question because I just did a interview and stuff, and there was a question as a wrestler that really stumped me, and it's a question I really want to ask you. Why are you a wrestling fan?
A lot of times, I kind of think as a wrestler, you're almost a fan out of habit because you've been a fan for so long. But as a wrestler, as a wrestling fan and a non-wrestling wrestling fan is a lot different. You look at everything differently, which it's fun, but it also you don't watch it through the child eyes that you used to watch it through. But it still entertains me.
But now my next actual question, because you are a Native American wrestler and stuff, and wrestling is full of a rich history of Native American wrestlers. Jay Strongbow, Tatanka, Jay Youngblood. What does that mean to you to carry on the torch of being a Native American wrestler?
That was the most notable for my timeline would be Tatanka. We got to work with him in Michigan. That was so fun. But I liked Strongbow's the way he wrestled, but I can't find a lot of footage of him with it being so long ago.
Well, what does that mean as a Native American wrestler, and to have, to be in a long line of very good Native American wrestlers, are you very honored to continue the legacy and, for lack of a better phrase, pass along the torch and stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. You always want to make sure you're doing the heritage proud. You don't want to go out there disrespecting the tribes or anything. So it's just a matter of trying to, your values and what you would think is just too hokey for your type of character. And because, a lot of people, they want to go just with straight stereotype dancing around and stuff. And I don't really do that.
Oh yeah, I definitely noticed that. Of course, I got to do my research and stuff, and I noticed that you're not the stereotypical quote unquote Native American wrestler. You call your group, your stable, your the guys that you travel with, the tribe and stuff, and professional wrestling is full of guys who call themselves family, and they say, "Oh, we're more than just wrestlers, we're more than just friends. We're brothers, we're family and stuff." But you guys really call yourselves a tribe. What does that signify for you?
Yeah, it's pretty much like a brotherhood. I probably talk to my partner more than I talk to the rest of my family, besides my immediate wife and children. But other than that, we were just texting right before you guys called. It's either wrestling or just BSing, but we're always keeping in contact, and I think it's the bond too. A lot of the Native Americans, when they talk about their tribe, are very proud. When we talked to one of the guys at UPW this weekend, he was talking about how him and his tag team partner couldn't go to the same bars in the same area because the two tribes didn't like each other. So they would meet in a centralized bar. They had to get off the reservation to go out. But I thought that was crazy because I didn't hear about too much of the fighting like that. But this was, I guess, a long time ago he was telling us about.
My last question before I pass on the Swan guy. You said you started training in, around 2000, am I correct?
Yeah. I can't really get an exact start date. I know it was right around, it was between 99 and 2000. Because I don't know if you count when you're training or if you count from your first match.
I usually count from the day you first start training and stuff. Because usually if you take that first bump, you never feel the same after that.
Yeah, I know what 2000.
Well, how has in your opinion and stuff, how has the wrestling business changed since when you first started to now?
Man, when I was first getting in was on the tail end of ECW, so it was so much hardcore. Before I started doing the Native American character, which has only been I think 5 or 6 years, I was just going under Tank Escobar, and it was just a name. It wasn't really, I didn't really have a gimmick to it. And I did quite a bit of hardcore wrestling my first 2.5 years, all gimmick matches almost, which was, I didn't really care to do too much, but I had a good time with it. You know, your approach with the promoter and you're going to make the best out of it. But I just tried to be inventive with my stuff instead of just straight hitting somebody with a steel chair. Try to do stuff a little bit different.
All right. With that being said, I will pass it to Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee, which is really hard to believe. But Sign Guy, what do you have for Gabe the Brave?
Well, Gabe the Brave, you say you've been in since the year 2000, so you've been around for a while. Who are some of the people in the Midwest that are new to the business, just getting started, that you think are going to be the people to carry the business in the next 5 to 10 years in the Midwest?
Oh, man. That's a good question. I really couldn't say off the top of my head. I work with a lot of vets. So a lot of the people that would be carrying the business on would be, they're just barely getting started, so they're not even good yet. You know, they're just getting their foot in the door. I really can't think of any off the top of my head, to be honest.
Now, the Midwest has a lot of people in it that have been around for 30, 40 years that are still active. Who are some of the veterans that have 25 plus years that you come across that have taught you the most in the business?
Oh, I would have to say that Don Basher comes to mind from WCWO. And working with him was great. And what is it? Oh, Bobo Brazil Jr. I was trying to think of his wrestling name. I almost called him out by his street name. But yeah, Bobo's another one. My trainer is actually getting up there, Kenny Courageous. I think he's around 20, and then Rex Hart's been out for a little bit, but I know he's in that range too.
It looks like right now in Kentucky that there's some big changes potentially coming to the commission. They've had a really strict commission in Kentucky. It's sort of hard to get the big companies to pass through because of the regulations. What are your opinions on commissions in general? And do you think that the state of Kentucky is a little bit too strict, or do you think that they're just right as it stands right now, or maybe even too lax?
I would say that they're too strict. Them and I believe Washington's and other places are having a lot of trouble out of. I think Kentucky's the biggest because their rates are so high to get licensing and all that, and they want every little thing for it. It's kind of similar to running an independent show in Illinois, where I'm right on the border of Indiana. So if we go into Chicago or into Harvey, they want a lot more things than they want from Indiana. And that's just for the promotional aspect of it. That doesn't even count the wrestling having to do any of the blood work or anything that Kentucky may have you doing like Missouri has. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the blood work because, you know, you want to know everybody you're in the ring with is safe, but I think they go a little overboard.
I would agree, and as someone that holds a license in Washington, I can concur that, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with our commission, too. Now, in your career, I'm sure you had the occasional injury or two, and concussions right now are kind of a big topic in wrestling. They're taken extremely seriously on a major promotion level, like your WWE's, Ring of Honor, so forth. What are your thoughts on concussions as they relate to independent wrestling? And do you think that there's anything that could be or should be done as far as regulating concussions when it comes to wrestlers?
Yeah, there really should be. I wouldn't know exactly what, because I'm not in the medical field, but as far as head trauma, anytime you know that you've been jarred pretty good, now that we've learned from all the advancements in the field, that little jar was a slight concussion. Back when I first started wrestling, that was called a tough it out and get up. But that's also was the same thing in high school football, or probably middle school football for that matter. You slap your head on the ground when you get tackled, they're like, get up. You're okay.
My final question for you, do you have any type of a wrestling bucket list of things that you want to accomplish in your career before you hang up the boots for the final time?
I would like to work at one of the big companies, even if it's just the Ring of Honor, like if it's just a house show that they do or something like that, or whether it be one of the bigger independent promotions perhaps. But yeah, I would definitely like to work on something that's pretty notable. I like all the places I'm working at now, but
all right, well, thank you for your time, and I'm going to pass things back over to the Bearded Wonder, Zane Paisley.
Well, Gabe the Brave, thanks so much for joining us tonight. How can our listeners follow your career? What are your social media outlets?
For the Tribe, you can look at on Facebook is under the Tribe East. If you look it up for /. My Facebook page is under Gabe the Brave. For if you do Facebook / Gabe the Brave. I've got Instagram under the Tribe East, and I believe my Twitter is GabeJ81. I'm not very active on the Twitter though. Well, mostly it's Facebook, and I'll occasionally throw some stuff on Instagram. But mostly it's my work page and my personal page.
What events do you have coming up?
What's that?
What events do you have coming up?
Oh, okay. You cut out for a second. Right now, let's see. What's the date? Look at this.
This weekend, Friday.
So, we're still trying to iron out ICW for next month. But after that, on the 11th and 12th, I have a Smash Mouth wrestling show. And then I've got UPW in Michigan on the 18th.
Excellent, excellent. So, as we need to say goodbye to you, what do you have to say to your fans out there?
Follow the tribe.
All right. Thanks so much, Gabe the Brave. We really appreciate you coming on. We hope to have you on again soon.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Have a great night.
Yep. You guys too. Bye.
All right. Will, Huck. Will Huckley. Sign Guy. Kill a Cat. Great show tonight. Had a lot of fun. We broke down some things about pro wrestling and our predictions for Extreme Rules. We had Gabe the Brave on, and we had a great conversation with Kevin Sullivan leading into his first match ever in Oregon, which is crazy. He's wrestled all around the world, but this will be his first match in Oregon.
In his entire career, which spans to 1971, I believe.
That is crazy. That is crazy. Well, coming up this weekend on Friday, I unfortunately will not be at WCWO on South Kentucky Avenue in Indianapolis, but I do want to wish Pogo the best. He is the new Outlaw champion there for WCWO. That is their most prestigious title. So this Friday he will have his first defense of that title. Wishing him luck. But on Saturday I will be at the Shelby County Fairgrounds in beautiful Shelbyville, Indiana, for All-Star Pro Wrestling. It's going to be a great card. Mr. Drew Skills will be on the card. And in the main event, it will be a special match between the Iron Man Rob Conway versus Dylan Bostic. So should be a great show. This will be my first time announcing Dylan Bostic. I have had the pleasure of announcing Rob Conway once before. But it'll be great seeing him. So looking forward to this weekend. Sign Guy, what do you got coming up this weekend?
Well, on Thursday, we are actually going to have a special edition of Turnbuckle Turmoil, a Buddha special, if you will, previewing the aforementioned All-Star Wrestling card from Shelbyville. We've done every All-Star Wrestling card so far. We'll continue with that. Then Friday...
Hey, I'm not invited to be on this special? Okay, I see how it is.
Talk to your booker.
Okay.
You're welcome on my end. Talk to your booker. He handles the people that get on that.
Nobody comes out to hear the ring announcer. Everybody's there for the wrestlers. I understand.
All right. Well, hopefully they came out when I ring announced. I'll be hurting my liver if they didn't. But Friday on Sound Guys Wrestling Show, we are continuing on in Dan Month with Daniel Eads out of Ohio Valley Wrestling, the man of tomorrow, if you will. And then Sunday on Turnbuckle Turmoil, we have Ray Lynn, speaking of Dylan Bostic, the only man I know that was 18 years old for roughly 10 straight years. Yeah, he's very familiar with Ray Lynn, and she will be on the show.
Excellent. Are you checking for pinfalls or submissions this weekend?
I'm not still wrapping up and moving, but I will be back the following week for sure.
Is Mrs. Sign Guy helping with the move?
She is doing a very large part of it, yes.
Excellent. Will, what do you got coming up this weekend?
Well, this weekend I have dubbed that the Hanging with Bob weekend. 3 days. Yeah, exactly, man. 3 days of actually hanging with it and talking to Brutal Bob Evans, the ROH star, the, guys who he's trained, Mike Gooden, so many other guys and stuff, man. Friday night will be in Hubert, North Carolina for Premier Wrestling Federation. It'll be me and Emmanuel, the $40 million man, Emmanuel Bodega, taking on a referee, which is going to be so great. This referee challenge me and Emmanuel Bodega to a tag team match where he's bringing out a special, so far unannounced tag team partner. Also on that call will be Brutal Bob Evans versus professional wrestling's only actual gymnast, Timmy Lou Retton. Saturday, I'm doing the Brutal Bob seminar for PWF that morning, and then Saturday night, I will be in Gastonia, North Carolina for Premier Wrestling Experience. PWX, like I said, we're one half of now WWE star, NXT star, or seen on WWE Raw and NXT. John Scholar is the heavyweight champ. Corey Hollis, along with ROH star Adam Page, is the former PWX tag team champs. My buddy Joe Black is going to be there, Chip Day, myself. I've heard that Moose might be in the building, so we're going to be there Saturday. And then Sunday, to conclude my Hanging with Bob weekend, I will be in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, doing the Brutal Bob Evans seminar also on Sunday. Also, for USIWF, the trainer there is Josh Gary. He's been training these kids. He has a group of kids he's been training this year and stuff, and they're so amazing, so humble and stuff. He has his Warehouse Wars show, which is basically what Beyond Wrestling was when it first started. It was like, closed tapings with just the boys and maybe a couple of family members and stuff, and then he releases it out on the internet. So we're doing that Sunday, giving back to a lot of the green kids and stuff, and that's it. That's my weekend.
Well, please ask Brutal Bob Evans if he's got time to join us, and ask him if I'm correct that he was the bear for Tracy Smothers' match at Old Wrestling. And Sign Guy, we forgot to talk to Mr. Sullivan about he's doing a seminar out there when he's in Portland, correct?
Correct. He will be running a seminar 1 p.m. on the 29th. It's open to anyone in the business, regardless of promotion affiliations or any shenanigans of any sort. So for $25, you can take part in a Kevin Sullivan seminar prior to Piper Palooza. Number 2, I would also like to point out, speaking of the aforementioned Timmy Lou Rutten, hashtag get Sign Guy into Gouge. Still a viable hashtag. I still need to get into Gouge. I'll do anything.
And he means anything, listeners. All right. Well, for producer Killakev, for the absent Drew Skills, for the incredible Huck, Will Huckabee, and for Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee, Sign Guy, this is the Bearded Wonder. Have a fantastic week. We look forward to talking to you next week.